everybody. My name is Dave Haverstock, and I am currently a member of the Hammonds Plains Historical Society Board of Directors. It is my pleasure to welcome you once again to the Plains Chronicles podcast. This episode looks at one of the more fascinating buildings ever to appear in Hammonds Plains. Let me introduce you to Tiny Pews, Huge Blessings, the story of the Yankeetown Baptist Church. In this podcast, we will explore the story behind one of the smallest functional churches in Nova Scotia. This church only measured 12 by 15 feet in size, but it was very mighty in its calling. This is the story of the Yankeetown Baptist Church. The Yankeetown Baptist Church left the community in 1984, so in all likelihood, if you arrived in the community after that, you may never ever have heard that Hammonds Plains once had such a distinctive landmark. But during much of the 1900s, all the residents who lived in Hammonds Plains knew about it, mostly because of its size, as it was one of the tiniest churches in Nova Scotia. The photo that you see here is a photo of the church as it appeared in its later years. You can easily see why it was such a distinctive landmark. The original Yankeetown Church was built in 1896-97. The original purpose of building the church was to give the young people of the Yankeetown area a place to attend Sunday school, without having to walk to the First Baptist Church in Hammonds Plains, which was located about 5 kilometers away. During this era, the church was a powerful voice in the community, and as such, it was a priority for many God-fearing residents to have their children brought up in a home of faith. The church was dedicated in July of 1897. Two members of the community who were very instrumental in seeing the church get built were James Smith and Mrs. Tremaine Thompson. The first pastor of the church was Reverend Whitman, and it was he who dedicated the church in 1897. 2 days after the service of dedication, on July 11th, 1897, the first Sunday school classes were held. The church measured only 12 by 15 feet, with a capacity for seating for about 12 to 15 folks. The original church was built along the old Yankeetown Road, near where the current Yankeetown Road intersects with the Hammonds Plains Road, at the Howland Park end. The church was located actually on the north side of the old road, near the end of where Blue Jay Lane exists today. Throughout the first part of the 20th century, the church was used primarily for Sunday school, although there were church services held there as well. Typically, services were held twice monthly, with attendance ranging from 3 to 12 folks. On the inside of the church were a few benches for worshipers, a tiny organ, a heater stove in the middle, and a table that was used as a pulpit by the minister. Oil lamps were used for lighting, and this method was the source of light for much of the duration of the church. Residents have passed down stories of members of the congregation bringing dogs to the service, and how certain members would get up during the service, go to the front door, and spit tobacco juice out the front door. This was a time in Hammonds Plains, of course, when chewing tobacco was a very common practice among the men. This photo is the oldest picture of the church that the Historic Society currently has. It was taken in the 1950s. It shows a picket fence around the outside of the church, a solid front door, and a side window. While you can't see it in this picture, a chimney protruded up through the center of the church. For most of its life, the church was associated with the Hammonds Plains First Baptist Church, with the minister from that church also conducting services at the Yankeetown Church. For many years, the church had an active sewing circle group, which provided fundraising support. Throughout the first half of the 20th century, several families were very instrumental in keeping the family going, especially members of the Smith family, who were residents of Yankeetown. Along with the sewing circle, these residents provided the resources necessary to make sure the church and property were always well maintained and looking full of life. The picture that you see here is one of the very early hymn books that was used by the church. It was donated by the Smith family, longtime residents of the Yankeetown community. The birthday refers to Mary Smith, daughter of Alphonsus and Annie Smith of Yankeetown. The date from the bottom of the page says November 1st, 1904. During the 1950s, the upgrading of the Hammonds Plains Road had an immense impact on the church. A significant part of the highway project was the creation of the Yankeetown bypass, which created a bypass north of the old Yankeetown Road. However, this bypass cut through a section of the old Yankeetown Road and actually cut the church off from the old road. It was therefore decided to move the church. The church was moved in 1959 to the old section of the Yankeetown Road, near where the Cox's Leg Road intersection is today. A new aluminum door was donated around this time to give the front of the church a new look. A new sign was put on the front of the church as well during the 1960s. You can see both the new door and the sign in the photo shown here. With the improved transportation methods during the second half of the 20th century in Hammonds Plains, the tiny Yankeetown church definitely felt the pressures of a more mobile community and consequently started losing families to other churches. By 1980, only a few regular churchgoers were left. Finally, during the early 1980s, it was decided that the church no longer had a sustainable future, and it was decided to retire it. It was sold off to a charitable group outside the community, and in 1984, it was disassembled and moved. The picture that you see here is the church in the background ready for its move. The story of the Yankeetown Baptist Church had come to an end after 80 years serving the Yankeetown community. While the church only had tiny pews, it certainly provided huge blessings for those who called it home. The Yankeetown church story is one of love, dedication, and faith. Despite its size, it was known to hold Sunday school classes, Sunday church services, funerals, weddings, church and community meetings, providing therefore much more than just a tiny outbuilding. While the church will be remembered by most for its unique size, for those who attended the event inside its walls, it will be remembered as a significant part of their past. And as such, it remains a significant part of Hammonds Plains history.